There are some stories that are terrifying because of what happened. And then there are stories that are terrifying because no one can prove what happened at all. In the mid-1980s, a family in Pennsylvania went public with a claim so disturbing, so bizarre, and so deeply unsettling that it became one of the most talked about paranormal cases in America. They said something evil was living inside their home. Not just a ghost, not just strange noises in the walls, but something violent, something intelligent, something that, according to them, could touch them, hurt them, and follow them. This is the true story of the Smurl family haunting. And whether you believe it was a demonic presence, a psychological breakdown, or something else entirely, what happened inside that duplex in West Pittston still chills people to this day. The story begins years before the headlines. Jack and Janet Smurl moved into a duplex on Chase Street in West Pittston, Pennsylvania, after flooding had disrupted their earlier life. At first, it was just a house. Old, worn down, nothing special. The kind of place where creaking pipes and settling wood wouldn't seem unusual. And for a while, that's exactly how it was. But according to the family, things slowly began to change. They claimed small disturbances started first. Strange smells, odd noises, shadows. Things moving when no one was near them. The kind of incidents people usually brush off. The kind of things you explain away because the alternative is too uncomfortable to consider. But the Smurls said it didn't stop there. They said it escalated. Over time, the family began describing a pattern of terrifying events inside the home. They said they heard loud banging and scratching. They claimed furniture shook. They said their dog was attacked. They described dark forms, cold spots, and a presence that seemed to move from room to room. And worst of all, they said family members were physically assaulted by something they could not see. Now, this is where the story becomes difficult to hear, because the claims weren't just about a haunted house. The Smurls said this thing became violent. They described being grabbed, scratched, dragged, even attacked in bed. And when those details became public in 1986, the story exploded. Suddenly, what had been a private nightmare turned into national news. Reporters showed up. Cameras arrived, strangers gathered outside the house, and the Smurls became known across the country as the family who said a demon lived in their home. By then, the case had caught the attention of two of the most famous paranormal investigators in America, Ed and Lorraine Warren. If those names sound familiar, it's because the Warrens were already becoming legendary in paranormal circles. They had investigated infamous cases before, and when they heard about the Smurls, they reportedly came to West Pittston to examine the home for themselves, and they did not dismiss it. In fact, they backed the family's story. The Warrens claimed the home was infested by multiple entities, including what they believed was a demonic force. That announcement only made the case bigger, because once the Warrens got involved, this wasn't just a local ghost story anymore. This was now something darker, something religious, something that suggested the house wasn't haunted by a spirit of the dead, but by something malevolent, something not human. And that idea changed everything. According to the family, prayers and blessings did little to stop the activity. They said priests had come to the home. They said religious efforts were made, and yet the disturbances, at least according to them, continued. Imagine what that would do to a family. To live in a house where every hallway feels wrong, where nighttime becomes unbearable, where the bedroom is no longer a place of rest, but a place of fear, where even your own memories start to feel unreliable. Because that's the other terrifying part of the story. Once fear enters a house, everything changes. Every creak means something. Every shadow becomes suspicious. Every silence feels like it's hiding something. And when multiple people in the same home say they're experiencing it too, that fear becomes even harder to escape. But not everyone believed them, and that's what makes this case so fascinating. Skeptics questioned everything. Some argued there was no proof. Others believed stress, suggestion, family tension, or medical issues might explain what the Smurls described. Even within religious circles, there was hesitation. At least one priest reportedly stayed in the home and later said he experienced nothing unusual. That detail has followed the case ever since. Because if a man enters the house expecting evil and sees nothing, what does that mean? Was the entity selective? Did it only appear when it wanted to? That's the question at the center of the Smurl haunting. Not just whether something paranormal happened, but whether terror itself can become contagious. And yet, the family never backed down. They continued to insist the events were real. To them, this was not a misunderstanding, not a hoax, not exaggeration. It was something they lived through, something that changed their lives forever. Eventually, they said, the activity became less intense. There were reports that prayer had helped. There were claims that the worst of it had passed. But even then, the story didn't end neatly. Because in later interviews, the family still described lingering disturbances, knocking sounds, shadows, an uneasy feeling that whatever had been in that house had never fully gone away. And by 1988, the Smurls moved out. Think about that. If you truly believed your home had been the center of a violent haunting, would leaving be enough? Would you ever sleep normally again? Would any new house really feel safe? Or would part of you always wonder, what if it followed? That may be the scariest part of all. Not the bangs in the walls, not the dark figures, not the scratches, but the idea that once something enters your life, whether supernatural or psychological, it doesn't leave cleanly. It stays, in memory, in fear, in the way you look at a dark room before stepping inside. The Smurl case would go on to inspire books, documentaries, and a made-for-TV movie. Decades later, people still argue over what really happened inside that Pennsylvania duplex. Believers say it was one of the clearest demonic cases ever made public. Skeptics say it was a perfect storm of fear, attention, and unproven claims. And maybe that's why the story survives. Because there is no ending everyone agrees on. No final piece of evidence. No moment that settles it forever. Just testimony, doubt, fear, and a house that became famous because one family said evil lived there. So what do you believe? Was the Smurl family telling the truth about a force they couldn't understand? Did something truly inhabit that home? Or is this one more example of how terror can grow until it becomes more real than reality itself? Whatever the answer is, one thing is certain. For the people inside that house, the fear was real. And sometimes, that's enough to create a nightmare all by itself. Because the most frightening stories are not always the ones with monsters. Sometimes, they're the ones where no one can prove the monster was ever there. If you made it to the end of the video, let me know in the comments down below. Also, feel free to provide me with feedback on my videos so I can make my videos the absolute best they can be for you guys. And if you want more stories like this, Subscribe to After Midnight for weekly scary stories, dark mysteries, and late-night nightmares. Sleep well, and I'll see you after midnight.